So glad you joined us here for a full tour of the Audi A4 facelift. Changes on exterior, interior and the driving experience for you here with a special treat today, driving the S4 Avant. Here on Autogefuehl with Thomas. Let's enjoy this in full HD, full screen and full length. Let's go. For all new A4 facelift versions, the front grille is definitely wider and more prominent. There are also upgrades here in the bumpers. Headlamps come from LED standard now and optional the matrix light. Interesting daytime running light, and when you hit the turning indicators you also have this cascading light then in this top light trim. The S4 gets those accentuations here inside the honeycomb structure grille. Here with the black pack, so they come in black. I'll soon also show you an S4 sedan where it has the usual setup where it's a little bit brighter. I think that looks a little bit more spectacular. This one here looks a little bit more aggressive also than with the black spoiler in the lower part. And there's this quote of the so-called Ur-Quattro, one of the first Quattro sport model. This is, it's supposed to be an air intake, but it is none. Yeah, so this is just this fake quote, so to say, to give it a little bit more sportiness in design. 4.73 m, 15'5" or 186 inches is the length of the Audi A4 in general. They haven't changed that. Platform, of course, remained the same, but they actually touched the metal, usually with facelifts. Headlamps changed, front grills changed, but not the metal because that's expensive. You need new tools for that. Here there's a new design curve right here in the lower end to stress the shoulder area. Very interesting. Wheels from 16 to 19 inch, and indeed those ones are the top 19-inch wheels together with the brake calipers, bigger brakes here in the S4 trim. Again, this black package, you can see it here at the mirror caps and also the frames around the windows. This one here, the Avant or the Estate. But again, as I said, also sedan, showing you very soon. And about the suspensions already right now, there's in general a base suspension, then there's a fixed sport suspension that would be standard for the S4, and then you can pick from two adaptive suspension, a sports one, we have that one here optional today, and a comfortable adaptive suspension, but they're both actually quite comfortable. Very interesting choices nevertheless, and we'll test the adaptive sport suspension for you here today. So, what do you think here so far about the styling? And one more comment about all-wheel drive distribution. The 2-liter engines, front plus rear on demand if they have all-wheel drive. But the 3-liter engines, both petrol and diesel, 40-60. 40% in the front, 60 in the rear, then a little bit varying. But definitely a rear-wheel bias than here for the big engines, and that will also help us today here for the S4 in the driving dynamics. So if you look at this vehicle now from the distance, by the way, nice panorama, isn't it? If you look from distance here, it really resembles an Audi A6 now, doesn't it? And indeed, it was also intended to let the Audi A4 look a little bit more up-class, especially here with this new tail lamp design. And you can see here, you also have the turning, cascading indicator lights right there. As for the S4, you also have this honeycomb structure in the lower end. And then, what about exhaust? The S4 as petrol, that will look different. However, the S4 as diesel does have real exhaust on the left side. However, the outer tips are still just for beauty. And on the right side, it's completely blind exhaust, so to say. Yeah, about that. But we've seen it even worse with the Audi S6 Avant, where we had 4 blind exhausts. So this one is at least something in between. And to give you some variation, there is again the all-road version. It sits 3.5 centimeters higher. And you can see there are now those painted wheel arches as the crossover look, and you also have those silver contrast in the front and also at the side. I think it really fits very well to the vehicle. We already had a review of the pre-facelift, was pretty impressive. So also somewhat similar the ride, you feel it's a little bit higher. It's not exactly SUV-ish. Still here, this crossover feeling, so a little bit higher, but not too much of a difference, but still fits to the car very well, I think. What do you? And of course, there's still the classic sedan, not only Avant, the Estate, and it's pretty interesting because in Europe, especially in Germany, everyone goes for the Avant, for the Estate, whereas worldwide, the sedan is more important, especially US and China, and yeah, in the US, the Avant is not even available. Therefore, everyone goes for a sedan, but the manufacturers always say that the US guys would not actually buy the Estate. Is that true? Please leave me your comments. And tell us, which one do you like best, the classic sedan shape or the more practical Avant? Here, by the way, 18-inch rims, also to give you an impression of this. And some more color choices for you. This one here is a darker blue tone with the Avant. This is so-called Navara blue. And next to it, this one would be my favorite for today, the S4 in turbo blue. So that would be a strong Thomas blue, definitely. Looks especially nicely with the red brake calipers in contrast, and also those red corners with a special front grille for the S4. Here again also the S4 sedan, so that one will be the one that will be available in the US. And this is a Terra Grey, a special grey color, so it's different from our Daytona grey color from our main vehicle today. Under the hood today for the S4, there is this 3-liter diesel, 6-cylinder, about 350 horsepower, and just under 5 seconds is the acceleration to 100 kilometers or 62 miles now. And the funny thing is, with the V6 petrol engine, it's the same horsepower figure, approximately the same acceleration. So, it doesn't make too much of a difference on paper. Sound will be different, and also the power curve is of course always different from petrol and diesel engine. As I said, the S4 petrol still for the US. Europe and especially Germany get the S4 as the diesel only now. They do that because of those new consumption cycles and the CO2 output, because when they have too much CO2 output from their whole fleet, they have to pay extra fees then. Yeah, that's the reason behind it. And in other words, for the normal A4 facelift, there's also the 3-liter diesel with 231 horsepower specs. So if you don't go for the S version, we've driven that one in the pre-facelift all-road. You can also check out that review. And then there's also a 2-liter TDI with different horsepower specs, and also 2-liter TFSI, then again with different horsepower specs, even with the 245 horsepower version there, the strongest one from the non-S models. So you can also vary a little bit in the horsepower figures. A lot of engines to pick from, but just the standard setup then here. This is the car key, open, close, slim, light, good quality, S logo here at the rear in this case. Keyless entry, put your hand on the outside to close, inside to open, and then you can see it goes, there it is, it goes up a little bit, very interesting door handle. The softness of the inside of the door is, it's not entirely hard packed, but it's not super plush, so to say. For the S4, you can also get those carbon fiber inserts. In general, for the A4 facelift, you can also get some matte wood styling, which is pretty nice, or some aluminum look. Then the Alcantara inserts here for the S model, red contrast stitches, spot for smaller bottles at the inside of the doors. Then there's this sporty interior again with the carbon fiber inlets, for example here at the left side of the steering wheel. Then you get an S steering wheel with a flat bottom and perforated sides. Then, in general, for the A4, you get base fabric seats, at least in Europe, which are quite nice and cozy and comfortable. Then optional or standard for the S4 are sport seats with bigger bolsters. I also have shots of those. They have a separated head restraint still. Would recommend those if you have the S4. And optional, those ones here, the S Sport seats with the integrated head restraint, they look sporty, look somewhat cool. They are also somewhat comfortable for sport seats, but less comfortable than the base ones, at least for me. First, they cage you in more. Then also this quilted structure there is not that comfortable on the long-term run. Then let's get inside. Classic mid-size shape, and I think it's often a very good compromise because the car is not too tall, so you can get long in parking boxes, but you already have more comfort than in a compact size vehicle. Headroom here with Model V is 86 or 6'1", still leaves a lot of headroom right there when I have the seat in the lowest position. Electric control here. Here also electric bolster control here for the side and a massage function, which is actually quite sophisticated for a mid-size vehicle. Then you have here on the steering wheel is a manual control for reach and rake. Nicely done. That's it from the side right here. So overall quite comfortable. Again, more comfortable if you go with the base seats or with the normal sport seats. But more interesting things are definitely done with both the new digital instruments and the new touchscreen. Interior overview, you can see here again with this compact steering wheel, very interesting. Sound control on the right, left side to control those digital instruments. What also has remained the same is this lower area right there, with the carbon fiber deco, and this is my favorite AC unit. Best clicking sound ever, and with nice illumination here around, and those capacitive buttons right there. Then they can show you what they actually do, and then you really hit them again with a nice clicking right there. I like to be able to do that while driving quite easily. In the lower part you have the drive select, that's placed in a quite low area, but then again those are still real buttons. In those big new Audi models this is also just capacitive and not that easy to control as it is right here. In the very lower end, USB port and the 12-volt power supply. But what is new now, definitely this new 10.1 inch screen pops up right there, but it is also very well usable. Yes, actually, it looks maybe a little bit weird, but you can reach it quite easily because everything there is done via touch. There's no control knob now again whatsoever. They lost that one, but you can again reach it quite easily because it stands so upright. And just this hardware is available. It just comes with different software. So if you want the top one, including the GPS, you have to pay extra for the software. But for used car customers, it's good that there's only one hardware version there. However, left side, it starts with analog instrument and optional 12.3 inch instruments. Soon more deals to both of those. And some soft touch here at the top of the dashboard. Details of this new infotainment screen. This is the satellite view here, also is a good processor behind it also, and well, everything just with touch, pinch and zoom and so on. You can also get it without the map view, that's also possible. And then you go back to your position and once again. The main menu looks like this. Phone apps, there you can, for example, also access the Apple CarPlay. So there it is, the Apple CarPlay, and by the way, optional 19-speaker Bang & Olufsen sound system in here, which has a really great sound here, especially for a mid-size vehicle. Wow, what a surround, nice. Always hard to transport on camera, but that really is really amazing. And great song, by the way, can just recommend it. Listen to it on YouTube in full length. Great song. So, nice sound system, but of course, more extra costs, definitely. So again, nice integration of the Apple CarPlay, pretty wide as well. Then you can go back to the Audi system like this. Yeah, and then some more app views. So that actually has a good overview. So I think well done. As for the software too, you can still connect your phone via Bluetooth, by the way. Digital instruments, very clear, nice option on the right top part there. There's a check engine light. It's totally normal when the ignition is on. It will disappear when the engine is on, with every Volkswagen, Audi, Seat, Porsche, and so on. Then you can also change the views, have a bigger GPS view, pretty impressive. Or you can change what you want to hear on the inside, like the Apple CarPlay info and so on. Soon, Apple will also release an update that you will have two screens at the same time, also for the central instruments. But that will be coming in upcoming cars. Then, oh yeah, that's the fuel consumption. With a lot of agile driving today, it will go down to about 8 liters if you go for a minimum consumption. So pretty flexible with those instruments. Oh, by the way, in the map, when you have the map, so like here, you can zoom in and out with your thumb on the steering wheel. That's, of course, a pretty handy option. Those head-up displays are always bigger and clearer to see with your eyes than on camera, but still, you have the speed, you have the allowed speed also when there's an info on that end, also some arrows for the GPS and so on, so it's a very good option to take. A nice detail feature is this normal back mirror, but it's not so normal because it's frameless, and that makes it elegant but also gives a good view to the rear. And this upper area here where you activate the lights is also quite elegant. It also looks a little bit up segment. Adaptive cup holders, good quality, and there's also the illumination right there. You can see it when we drive through the tunnel later. Then here is another small cubby hole. Then this automatic shifting lever. The big engines still have the converter automatic gearbox, very interesting. Electric handbrake right there. Then there's a spot for the key, for example. We also have still a manual volume knob with a metal knurling around, very interesting. And then this armrest right there can be slid forward a little bit more and backward. You can put it up. And then there's an inductive charging pad available. And then there's the USB-C connection here, actually interesting. Whereas in the front we had the old USB, here the USB-C. And also interesting that also this area here has the connection for the CarPlay and the Android Auto. And that's good because it's somehow safer to put your smartphone right here rather than leave it rather open in the front. Now getting in the rear, and usually mid-size vehicles are not that well with that, at least the premium mid-size sedans and Avants and so on. But here it's actually quite okay, so one of the best there also among the premium competitors, especially, well, those sports seats are very voluminous. You will even have a little bit more legroom when you have the normal seats. It's, falling backwards, this whole bench, so it's not the most comfortable position, but still you get along quite well. Headroom-wise, it's also no problem with 1.86 m or 6'1", still leaves some headroom. Also some soft plush at the rear doors. We hardly see that anymore. And also nice door handles and so on, so good build quality here too. Then here in the lower part, you have also separate climate unit with clicking sounds. When the engine is running, you will even see a temperature running right there. And then there are charge-only USB ports right there next to a 12-volt power socket. Big middle tunnel right there, so it's not too easy to sit in the middle part. You can somehow sit there, yes, but it's again, not that easy. And quite stiff, especially with the sports seat setup here. Headroom-wise, no problem, but wow, that's really uncomfortable because it's so stiff in the middle part from the bolstering. Then in the middle, you can have cup holders and this armrest here, like this and like this. And this can be also used as a ski hatch. Here we go, right there. And Isofix at the outside seats each. So, quite well usable. The only thing that might not be so good for the comfort are those quilting on those sports seats, but you can get rid of those in the base versions, and that the rear bench falls a little bit to the rear. That gives you more headroom. However, it's not that good for the long-term comfort. Especially as Audi S4 Avant, you can do a lot with this sporty car, even in your everyday normal car life. You can open the trunk here either with the key. You can press below the Audi logo, or there's also this foot kick opening mechanism available. And well, that was flawless, and that was live on tape, I can promise you. The good thing is here, look at that, the electric hatch is standard, and look at that, here also this top cover, it raises automatically when the trunk opens and it closes automatically again. This is the perfect solution. We also have some luggage setup for you here today to give you just a brief example of what you can do. The liter figures are 500 to 1,500 liters, and the size here is 1.5 meters in length, and it's about 1 meter in width. And the height here below the cover, sorry for that, 45 centimeters approximately under the cover. You can also see that the suitcase then perfectly fits right there. Very interesting. And one thing, of course, let me just clean that up, that you can have a Clear view also of the trunk area, because I want to flip the seats here now. And yeah, what about that? So, first of all, this one here, you can flip that one up for some extra equipment to sort out the trunk. In some versions you can also flip those up, but it depends. If you have the mild hybrid, then you cannot. Then here, when I now flip the seats, yeah, what about that? I just unlocked them, and usually I would expect that those seats flip automatically, but here in the A4 they need a push. Yeah, it's not a problem if you have long arms from here, or then you have to go around, and then it's possible. And you see they didn't flip completely because the head restraints are still up, and if you push them up, then they go down a little bit more. You can see that's the difference here. And to the seats as we would be driving as rather tall passengers, let's see what we have as a result there. I would say about $1.60 or something. Yeah, even more. 1.80 meters is the length in here to the co-driver seat, so you can very well use this vehicle. In the sedan you will be somewhat limited, of course, especially with loading in and out. Remember that the liter figures for the sedan don't sound that much different, because the liter figures are just measured below the trunk cover. Therefore it's a little bit, in favor of the sedans, but the Avants are of course way more practical. Welcome to Thomas's Driving Lounge with the Audi A4 facelift, and in this case the Audi S4. And let's put it in dynamic mode and let it drive in dynamic way, because we have some winding corners here. Dynamic mode, when you have the adaptive suspension, which we have here. Again, the adaptive suspension available in a sporty trim and in a comfort trim. This one in the sporty trim. And then with the dynamic mode, it's a little bit sportier, gives me more feedback from the road, and that's pretty cool. So I have, wow, good drive here also from the diesel, good torque, especially when we have already picked up speed. And the steering is very progressive, so I can keep my hands at the steering wheel all the time. I don't have to steer much actually, so that's a very good feeling, and you're super much in control of the whole vehicle. So look at that now, when I turn in this corner, see how the degree of the corner, the angle of the corner is almost one-to-one transported to the steering wheel. That's very interesting. You maybe also notice that now when I let off the gas a little bit, then the car also tends to shift up again for consumption reasons, even in the sports mode. So, oh wow, old lunch here. Very interesting, sporty. So it's really cool when we are in this manual mode in here. So I shift down myself with the pedals, and then I can keep it here in the lower gears. So right here, keep it in third gear, accelerate out. Wow, that's really cool. And I really have to say, this diesel is a lot of fun. So when you keep it in the auto mode, again, tends to upshift too early, probably for a sporty vehicle. And from the low RPM regions, then it needs some help, so to say. But when you here shift down yourself, suspension reacts very nicely, crisp steering, and nice drive here. Wow. And the sound is actually also quite decent. Of course, it's not a sound as you would know it from this petrol engine. Yes, that one will be a major difference. But since I use a sound actuator here in this vehicle, you have at least something of a spiced up sound there. So a lot of fun to drive this one here through corners. And also when doing like a slalom right here, look at how direct the car is. And again, this is a normal mid-size vehicle, so to say, but again, it conveys a very, very precise feeling like that. At the same time, there's not less comfort, just probably by those integrated head restraint seats. So the normal sports seats are more comfortable, but suspension-wise, again, great compromise between sportiness and comfort. So you can have a lot of sporty fun, but without getting any pain or something. Again, even better if you keep it with the base sport seats. And now the road gets a little bit rougher, but still, this adaptive suspension masses it really well, even though we are in the sports dynamic mode. So again, I can stress the comfort of this car. That's really good. Again, look at that steering. Very good control of the vehicle. And you know, I told you earlier, here with 3-liter engines, no matter if diesel or petrol, you have the rear-wheel biased all-wheel drive still. And you feel it also, especially when you accelerate out of the corners, you don't have this, front wheel spin. And you also, this vehicle have a limited slip differential for the rear wheels. That helps us too. Wow, nice roads here then. Again, the most fun it is really when you keep it with the manual shifting, because again, even in the S mode, it keeps too high in the gears if you drive very, very sporty. Question, of course, how often you could do that actually, but wow. The job is really incredible, like from steering, suspension, and also the diesel is really so much fun if you shift it manual here. So again, the difference from the petrol engine to the diesel here will be sound predominantly, will be acceleration from the get-go. This, but everything else we tell you is actually the same for the S4 petrol and for the S4 diesel. Now on second gear, and see here also hardly any leaning from suspension. It's really a lot of fun, and still, I like it when you have a sports car that is nice to drive, but is still somewhat comfortable. Good also on the brakes, so very good responsiveness from the brakes. Wow. So an amazing job they've done here with the S4. And we here in Europe, especially in Germany, we can only get the diesel for the S4. Sound-wise, that's really a pity, but performance-wise, you can see that here is actually no problem. And consumption-wise, the question is the diesel a big advantage in fuel consumption? But we'll find about that later. Wow, have you seen that? How the corner got tighter, and what a good reaction again from the steering. So it really gives me a very, very natural, balanced driving feeling like that. Wow. What do you think, guys, here of the first agile driving part? And now some street and autobahn driving and going over a hump here. Wow. So this again is the adaptive suspension, the adaptive sports suspension for the S4. And so this is a sports version of this mid-size car. And still, when you're going over those humps, you have a very decent comfort. So that's, I think, very good. Sometimes those sport versions are, let's say, without compromise. That will probably be then the RS4, but this one here is still something that is still decent for everyday driving life. And I think that's, that would be very important to me, because I like to drive sporty, but I also like comfort, and it's always depending on the situation. And this one here still can master both. So it also feels agile and handy here in those city surroundings. It's also not too big of a vehicle. Let's see. Yeah, the diesel, from the low RPMs, when you're in the normal driving mode, it takes some time to get going, just a little bit. So you need to be aware of that. What I'm missing here, for example, I can scroll inside and outside of the small map. That's possible here, but for example here in the big map I always need to use like the pinch and zoom, so here also in the tunnel you can see how it looks like at night when we're driving. That's also very interesting. And usually when we have S4 petrol now, we would also have a decent sound, but here in the tunnel, of course, there's not much we can do in this case then. So for zooming in the big map, in and out, it would be good to have a drive controller still, so that would be quite cool, but that's not the case then here, so you have to do it like this. that can be a little bit distracting. However, you can see when I'm just doing the zoom in and out, it stays basically on the following mode. Only if I move it like this here, then it stays that way statically, and then I have to press this button again, then it moves back. Very interesting. So here now also setting the cruise control in the tunnel to 80 kilometers an hour, and it's keeping the distance to the car in front of me. At the moment it's telling me the predictive ACC would not be available here at the moment. It always depends on the country also. So this predictive function of the ACC, that is basically reducing speed before you go down, for example, to save fuel, or also reducing speed if you turn into a next roundabout. That's what it actually can do. I also want to go into this tunnel because of noise insulation, and indeed, in the tunnel it's always quite loud, but the A4 in general has a very good noise insulation, so that's also among best in segment. So I'm also satisfied that it's keeping relatively silent when you drive inside this tunnel in here. Nice with the ambient lighting also here at the inside of the door. So the funny thing is, when you drive it here in city traffic or in rural surroundings, you do not necessarily feel that you have this sports car. It could also be just another Audi A4 something, and you can argue that's good, or you can argue that's bad. And I would argue it's good, because you can still enjoy the full comfort of the Audi A4 than also with this one here. So we'll do a U-turn right here, because actually we need to go into another direction. But I want to show you this tunnel because it always belongs, to different surroundings. You can test a little bit with the vehicle then. That would be a situation when you have the map data for the predictive ACC, where it would reduce the speed already in front of the roundabout. Here again, very good stability in the corners. And I'm just in this auto driving mode, so you can keep it all quite simple and quite calm. The S4 petrol is a little bit more aggressive directly from the get-go. So especially from low RPM regions, but this diesel here gives you, with the 700 Newton meters of torque, a lot of acceleration, and when you already have picked up speed. So then in the higher regions, the diesel can really catch up there in this case. And you can always go back to the drive select and, for example, go to the dynamic mode, and then gives a little bit more sound feedback, a little bit better throttle input, because also the car is shifting back a gear. Here, for example, in first in fifth gear, faster to the fourth gear, for example. But still, in those S modes, this car rather keeps it good for the consumption, and still, so it's not the car that would always go in the lowest gear then. Usually it tends to keep it in the higher gears, that you have better fuel consumption, but you can always use then the shifting pedals for that. Well, those sport seats here with the integrated head restraint, when you're driving a little bit longer, 4 sport seats, they're actually decently comfortable. However, sticking with the base sport seats will deliver you more comfort, and also the base seats in the Audi A4 will also do just a good job, so you can save some money as for that. Well, you wondered earlier if it's good to see all the instruments. They are pretty clear, and also this screen that really sticks out so much, and it doesn't look that nice visually maybe at first sight, but both driver and co-driver, Holger is accompanying us today, we can very well see what's going on in the screen. So because it's so upright and relatively large, so that comes quite handy actually as for that. Now setting the cruise control again, I can see everything very, very well in the head-up display. Not sure if you can pick that up on the camera at the moment. It's depending, maybe the camera is too high for that to see. But it's very crystal clear head-up display as for that. So indeed, everything feels a little bit more refined than in the pre-facelift. It's not that we would say it's a super game changer. The biggest difference is indeed the infotainment system, where you really feel something in your everyday driving life, that something has been improved and something is really heavily changed. This then again with the highest software upgrade. So that's it for tunnel driving, looking at it at night, because when we test the cars at days, we can never show you how it looks like at night with the interior. Therefore, I was quite happy to have the possibility for the tunnel here today. Now we get to the daylight again and head onto the motorway, because I want to show you there another acceleration on the motorway with the diesel here. And I also want to talk about the minimum fuel consumption. You might remember from our test with the pre-facelift A4 all-road Avant that one with the 3-liter diesel, not in this S spec, but in the normal spec, so to say, with a little bit less horsepower, 231 it is. That one had a fuel consumption of about 8 liters. That's about, on 1 kilometer, that's about 29 mpg US, 35 mpg UK, which is not that decent for a 3-liter diesel. And this one here now, the major change is the 48 volt board net together with this mild hybrid system. And that one then gets the not only mild hybrid system, but also is powered by this electric compressor. And the electric compressor is very interesting, because it comes as an addition to the normal turbocharger. And let's see what about the performance delivery and especially about the fuel consumption. Audi claims on paper that it's 0.4 liters on 1 kilometer less because of that. But again, that's just on paper. It doesn't mean that it's the same way in the effective everyday driving life. Blind spot monitor is also working on the other side. That's a very good integration. I hope to be able to show that very soon on the motorway. Good feeling for the car here again, roundabout. That's what I like about those mid-size vehicles. They are not too large, so you can do everything with them and get along with that in different situations. But then again, they're already large enough that you have a lot of decent comfort. So, and when we get onto the motorway, we'll leave some space to the car in front of us. That looks like a very interesting get onto the motorway. I'm not sure if the map is right in this case, because I think we're just going straight, right? I think so. Or no, it is actually not. So it's like there's like 2 circles to get on the motorway. Very interesting building style. Why did they do that? Well, you never stop learning. So I'll already get to the dynamic mode. And the suspension is still a decent comfort even in the dynamic mode. That's also very interesting. A little bit more response from suspension. Now we'll take the next ride. Wow, that's a very slow get on the motorway here.
It's to integrate the toll station.
Ah, yeah, for the... What is she doing? Oh, wow, interesting. So now we get to this toll station, and I think we don't have an electric beeper today. We need this this special card, which is, of course, very practical, because I have...
Take a ticket.
Yeah, because I have the camera mounted on the left side. No, I have to get the ticket first.
Yeah.
Of course, with the camera, that's like really bollocks now. Oh, wow. Yeah, getting the ticket first, so yeah, Holger takes it. Normal people would just lower the window, but car reviewers also have their very special problems. So now we think this one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. So that's live on tape, authentic Autogefuehl experience. It's also what belongs to testing a car. So now onto the motorway. Still in the dynamic mode. Let's do some 70 to 110. Yeah, that's a nice acceleration. That's where you also feel that the diesel really sets in. And that's what I was talking about earlier. So when the diesel has already picked up speed, for example, let's say like there's this 90 to 110 again, and then, wow, so strong, and there it is again. So that was like just a very quick acceleration. So especially for the motorway, the diesel does a very good job. So again, the petrol will be more fun when you have like those acceleration from the get-go, for example. But here, the diesel is really a lot of fun and gives you a lot of, I always like to use the term sovereignty when you are already at speed. That's pretty cool. So, now, let's go back to let's take the efficiency mode. We can do that, because that's rather steady speed what we have here now. And let's reset the consumption meter. See what minimum consumption we can actually score when we set the cruise control to 110. And after a while we keep you updated with that. Probably hey Audi, that's cheating, so that's going downhill now. Probably I'll reset it after this downhill, because then that when we're going downhill all the time, that's that's not really fair for the consumption. And that would have a too good result actually. So let's see, now again reset, and then we'll start testing a little bit. So it goes a little bit downhill now, but we'll also go uphill once again then. So okay, on the right side, again a very good stable feeling this car gives me. It's a very good motorway vehicle, also at higher speeds. It remains very comfortable and stiff at the same time. So again, I think it's a really, really great compromise. Now what about the blind spot monitor? There it is on the left side, and when I set the turning indicator, it also starts flashing. Very good. I like this integration there in the side mirror. So that's probably a little bit more stylish than it would be at this very outside, far side of the side mirror. So yeah, I mean, very good, decent comfort from this vehicle, and good sporty riding at the same time. But I still feel that the S4 is a very suitable everyday driving car. That's, I think, also one of the main features of this vehicle. And I think it's good that they stress also the comfort aspect, even though you have an S4. So at the moment, the first minimum consumption is a little bit lower than initially. Here's about, at the moment, 7 liters on 100 kilometers, so that would be then more than 30 mpg US, or even in the close to the 40 mpg UK areas. But again, it was a lot of downhill too, but we will drive a little bit further, and then we will also keep you updated with the final consumption when we have our final conclusion. And here we are with the conclusion of the new Audi A4 facelift special with the Audi S4 Avant. Well, exterior-wise, they have changed quite a lot for a facelift, especially with this bigger front grille, for example. It looks stronger than before, and I think overall it is well done, more prominent and more distinguishable overall. And it moved closer towards an Audi A6, which could be cool for an A4 customer, but maybe not that nice for an A6 customer saying like, now an A4 even looks like my A6. Yeah, well, that's how it is. Also changes on the interior, especially as for the infotainment. I think it's pretty cool that we don't have to distinguish anymore between 3 different sizes of touchscreens. There's one, it is big, it is usable. Yeah, you just have to pay for different software solutions. But for used car customers, that's a big advantage, definitely. Oh, a lot of insects today here. And well, the space on the interior is actually quite good still, just not that good that you have to flip the seats, push them, that they don't flip automatically. That's what I have been criticizing for quite some time now with the A4. Other than that, a very high build quality, really well done. Then the driving experience, that is really flawless. Such a great compromise between sportiness and comfort. And still here in the S4, so although it's a sporty version, you still have a very comfortable drive. Then, especially with this acoustic dampening package which we had today, such a silent ride too. So much confidence this car gives you. The big diesel here has also significant power, especially if you shift it yourself then with the shifting pedals, and also if you already have picked up speed and then can use all the Newton meters of torque. Yeah, sound-wise, the V6 petrol will be better. That's, I think, without a discussion, but power-wise, you won't miss so much than here with the big diesel. Fuel consumption-wise does remain at about 8 liters 100 kilometers, or 29 mpg US, 35 mpg UK. That should be better. This is the minimum consumption if we keep it cruise control on the motorway. It probably will go up a little bit more when you really hammer it, but not that much here with the diesel. That's also one advantage of the diesel, is that its fuel consumption span between minimum and maximum is not as wide as you would have it with a petrol engine. Yeah, so overall I think it still remains one of the best mid-sized vehicles on the market, but I would like to hear your opinion now. Please discuss it in the comments, and also tune in next time and subscribe if you haven't done so far, and also hit the subscription bell so you always get the notification when we get a new video online. Thanks so much, guys. See you next time.